What is going on, JW Faction? My name is Josh Williamson. Now, I've shared a recipe for my favorite food, steak, on this channel, okay? It was a reverse sear method, okay? But since I got this particular kitchen gadget called a Sous Vide circulator for my birthday not too long ago, I really wanted to show you another steak tutorial using the Sous Vide circulator because you're going to cook the most amazing steak with this particular gadget, and it's really easy to do. So let's get started. So to start this recipe off, first off, get a steak that is at least an inch thick. Okay, you want a thick steak for this. It's going to be a lot better. Use any cut you want: New York strip, sirloin, T-bone. I'm using my favorite cut of all time, which is ribeye. Again, like I said before in my first steak recipe tutorial, it has the eye muscle and the cat muscle, which is the best tasting part of a cow. But anyways, what you want to do is season it really well with coarse kosher salt, black pepper, and garlic powder. Now, I didn't season it with garlic powder in the first steak recipe because with the basting butter while I was searing it, I actually used crushed garlic cloves as part of the basting butter. And repeat the same thing on the other side. Alright, so after you got your steak well seasoned, what you want to do is put it in a vacuum sealer bag and vacuum seal it to get all of the air out. As you can see, it's now vacuumed up and sealed up, and that's what you want. You want all of the air out of the bag. Alright, so now it's time to talk about the sous vide thing. Now, this gadget is called a sous vide circulator, and what the word sous vide means is cooking steak in a water bath, cooking meat or anything else in a water bath in general. Now, I filled this little Tupperware thing up with about 3/4 of the way up with water, and what you want to do is you want to preheat this using the sous vide circulator. This preheats the water to the internal temperature that you want your steak to be. Now, right now I'm gonna preheat it at 135 degrees Fahrenheit, which is medium rare. That's how I like my steak. Now, if you want your steak to be at a different doneness, whether it be rare, medium well, or well done, here's the temperature chart. Pause it to read it. Alright, so now that the water bath is preheated to my favorite internal temperature, what I'm gonna do now is open this little lid up, put the steak in there, let it sink down to the bottom, and I'm gonna let it cook for 2.5 hours in that water bath. Alright, so this is what the steak looks like after 2.5 hours in the sous vide circulator. It doesn't look appealing, I know that. It smells amazing though, but the reason why it doesn't look that good is because it doesn't have a good sear on it yet. It doesn't have a good crust, and we're gonna do that. But first, before you do, what you wanna do is pat the steak as dry as you can. The drier, the better. If it's too wet when you put it in the cast iron to sear it, it's not going to give it a good sear. It's not going to give it a good crust. Alright, so next, after you dried it off, what you want to do is get a cast iron pan and line it with a high smoke oil. I'm using grapeseed oil. And what you want to do is let it heat up on high until it starts smoking. And when it starts smoking, put the steak in, let it sear on one side for 1 minute, then turn it over and let it sear on the other side for 1 minute. And after that, you want to take the fat that's on the side of the steak, that fat strip, and you want to render it down. Unrendered fat tastes disgusting. Alright, so now that the pan is smoking hot, you're gonna put the steak in. This is what you should hear. Alright, so the steak is done searing. Now, in the last steak recipe I showed you, you'll see that I put some butter in the pan and basted it over the steak. Well, I'm gonna do something a little bit more convenient, and I made some brown butter. Now, if you want to know how to make brown butter, leave a comment down below, and I'll show you how in another video. But what you want to do is rub it on top of the steak and get that delicious brown butter flavor on there. That's a more convenient way than basting your steak with butter while it's in the pan. The butter will burn. Alright, and our steak is done. And I cut the eye into little strips, as you can see, and I cut the cap into little bite-sized pieces beside, as you can see, just for a little bit of presentation. Now, it only looks like it's more done than it is because of the lighting in here. If the lighting wasn't so messed up in here, you would actually see how perfectly medium rare this is. But like I said, sous vide steak is really easy to do. Time consuming, I know, but that's what makes it so good. Like, this steak is amazing. It's the best steak you will ever have. It's so tender and juicy, as you can see. It has such an amazing flavor. I said before, steak is my favorite food of all time, and cooking it sous vide is just the absolute best way to go. But if you tried this recipe out, leave in the comment section down below and tell me what you thought, whether you liked it or you hated it. And if you liked this video, thumb it up. If you hate this video, thumb it down. And be sure to click the subscribe button to become a member of the JW faction on a journey to 10,000 subscribers. See you later.